Great. Thanks for reaching out, Evan. Maybe we'll start with some context.
We'll keep it nice and short to keep it relevant. We were on a webinar, seminar, I don't know what to call it. The topic of intuition, opportunity, and trusting those opportunities came up. My question was around experiences where that moment has presented itself, and I have dived into sort of the irrational, unpredictable, this seems a little crazy opportunity that presented itself. And in every case, it has worked out. That's how I met my wife. It's how I sort of first careers opened themselves up. And yeah, I can chart a path through decisions that led me here. I'm not skeptical at all. Sometimes the universe just pokes us in the right direction. And so where I'm at right now is I lost my job unexpectedly a couple months ago. And I think I dealt with it well. There were opportunities to be frustrated, angry, surprised, disappointed, and to feel shame and embarrassment from all the studying and practicing I've done with meditation and Buddhism. I think I handled it well and took it in okay, the universe has something else planned for me. I don't know what that is, but this is happening for a reason. Let go of attachment to those things. Obviously, there was some processing, but I did a pretty good job. While that was happening, a few other job opportunities fell in my lap that I hadn't gone looking for. So I took those as maybe this will be easy. I'm going to go into everything with enthusiasm and curiosity. I'm going to see what happens and something will work out. And one by one, each of those opportunities didn't work out. Now I'm at this weird point where I don't have anything left on the table. My question in the seminar was, I would love one of those intuitions to hit me and say, here's where you should go next, but it's not happening. I could really use it. And so my question was, what can we do to generate one of those? I won't paraphrase your answer. Maybe you want to start from there. Is that enough? Any follow-up questions?
Great. Yeah, really great context. Your situation is one that so many people experience. I've experienced twice, unexpected job loss, restructured down, and it's not the same for everybody, but what a turbulent situation that is. So, I experienced it at a point, young kids and all of that, and just the noise of how I often joke, the mind works so quickly down this path. You follow a thought, follow a thought, follow a thought. I'm like, we're going to have to sell the kids. I don't see how else this is going to work.
It does go that way, yeah.
And then in the second one was more, I'm in an executive position and company car, and it's like, boom, okay, that's not there. What now? It can be for a lot of people just plunging into the noise. Good for you to have navigated it well. I think I was fortunate, like you. It wasn't pleasant or nice, but I somehow restabilized in a good way and learned a lot. But in the middle of it, the point is the roller coaster of it. It's not, and I understand all this. I love how you said, my life showed me that there's an intelligence that flows. I'm going to paraphrase. The best parts of my life, my wife, different things, came from an unexplainable set of crazy situations and luck. And the universe isn't luck. It's following laws,
Mm-hmm.
by principles. And when it seems crazy, this just came to me. When it seems crazy, it's not the universe that's crazy. It's what I'm perceiving in this moment, right? Which is always good to know. And it's because when you have that, where you said, I could look back and see the intelligence of it. I could see how it's always moving toward better, toward thriving.
Mm.
Why do I say that? Because we're pointing to the energy before all things. The energy before all things wants only to thrive. If you plant a seed, there's an energy before physical, an intelligence before physical that is in the seed, which is the essence of all that it will become is already in the seed. It will move as energy, expressing toward maximum thriving under those conditions. Oh, it fell on a sidewalk. It will go through the crack into the dirt and thrive under those conditions. Right? So you and I are the same. There is that energy. It's not theoretical. If you get quiet, you know this, but for anyone listening, is like
always good to have a reminder.
If you get quiet for a minute, you notice you're breathing. If you cut your finger, you're not the one who would heal it. And our best medical advice today would say you should put a Band-Aid on it, right? That would be the best medical advice. And so if you put the Band-Aid on it, the reason that is such an intelligent thing to do is so you stop interfering. Don't touch that. Don't interfere with that. You don't know enough to be able to do something with that. There's something happened you just don't know enough. Put a Band-Aid on it, because if you interfere with it, it cannot become, and the energy is not left to just do its thing without interference.
I feel like this is a metaphor.
Let's check in. Yeah, I just said a bunch of things, but so far, what are you hearing that is helpful?
I'm bought into the idea, and it's panned out that I don't always have to get in the way of things. Whatever's next will present itself. I think you were talking about the feeling when that happens, doing the thing you're supposed to rather than resisting it, which makes a lot of sense. And I think the thing that I'm struggling with when you have that idea in mind is the waiting until that happens. I've got, bills coming, and I don't know if the universe knows what my timeline is, but I can really use a job sooner rather than later. It goes back to my original question. Do I keep waiting and suffer or manage whatever is going to happen until that thing presents itself? Or is there anything we can do to prime the pump a little bit?
Right. The key is waiting. The way I heard it is energetically like something I'm going to do, which is to wait.
Okay.
Yeah, which is to wait. There is never, this is kind of funny. It's such a paradox. The universe and all life is an eternal movement. It is not still. People talk about achieving stillness. Quiet your mind, become still. But I've often thought of the paradox of this. That stillness brings you to peace. When my mind is not active, I move to the one energy or mind, which is the energy of all things. That one energy. When my own, let's call it, when the wave isn't coming from the ocean as a separate, then I'm now in that one. That is the one energy that is creator expressing into all things, that intelligent expressing into all things. If we talk about it as an energy, we could say as a frequency, as a vibration, as a movement. The only reason people talk about stillness is the perspective from this speck, a tiny perspective. If you had any idea the activity of the energy of the entire universe, its frequency is so high, it would appear still.
Right.
You imagine a fan, slow rotation, you could see it. If you increase and increase, it will disappear, first of all, but the level of frequency and activity is huge. So I just bring that up because often if I speak to waiting, there's a resistance in it.
Mm.
In other words, I'm going to wait. I'm going to hit the brakes and just put the brakes on and just let's see what happens. And in order to do that, I would go out of alignment with this movement. I'd be out of alignment. So, what are you doing right now? Just waiting. I'm waiting right now. Waiting. I know an opportunity is going to come. Right now, I'm waiting. That can be out of alignment as well. Which is, and you haven't said this, but which is why often to wait feels resistant or negative. It's like time's ticking. It's getting worse. And I'm just sitting here waiting. That's the reason it feels like that. It's I'm not participating. I'm not aligned. I'm not moving. So, where in our conversation would be useful for you? If this was beneficial, what would you love to see in it?
I guess just a shift in think. If waiting is not the right way to be thinking about it, I understand the sit in stillness, let the mind calm, feel that peace. That's great when I'm, on the cushion. When I get up from the cushion, that's harder to hold on to, and thinking comes back in. And even on the cushion, there's still some thinking. I still have some thoughts. So what would be helpful is, how do I replace that idea of waiting?
What is my focus? What's my focus that serves me? Where do I have my attention? What am I engaging with in a way that serves me? In a way that allows a movement with this energy that wants only my thriving. That I'm rephrasing your question.
I thought that was the answer, but okay, good question. Yes.
So I'm rephrasing it. Waiting doesn't feel good. Sitting around worrying doesn't feel good. And I don't think it's getting anything. There's an implied, notice in the guidance, an implied direction in all of this. What feels good. It's almost built into us. The movement toward what feels good is almost built into us. I'm going to suggest that we somehow know that wants only our good, and that when we move with it, it feels good. When we've moved against it or have lost our way, somehow it will not feel good. And so that's useful. How can I allow my own thriving? How do I allow my own thriving? Okay, so how should I think about this, or what's the perspective? And the trouble is, the thoughts, never said this in quite this way. The trouble is that the thoughts you don't get a choice about. Thoughts ride an energy.
Okay.
So they ride along an energy. The choice you get as they ride along is to dance with them. How do you dance? You engage. And when you engage and they're riding along an energy, they are vibrating. And when you engage, you dance with them.
Okay.
And as you dance with them, you can feel what you are riding along. You can feel it. When you feel that, there's the possibility of wisdom here. Are you riding an energy, the highest wisdom flowing from your best self, your soul, your true desire? Are you riding that wave? Because when you are, it's bliss. It's pure harmony, right? You're in the highest, best version of you. If you are dancing with thought that is vibrating with that, you are on the train. You are on the frequency of thoughts that are wise and perfect and leading to thriving. They lead to the best in you. They lead to everything you want: peace, joy, abundance, clarity. Those thoughts are all there. It's not a matter of how should I think about this, because I can't necessarily think about it. It's more, how do I feel into the station? How do I tune to the channel that the intelligence and flowing and thinking that comes to me unfolds and leads to, if we go back in your life, leads to the go to this coffee shop and go over here, and that's where your wife is, who you'll be with for. So that's that intelligence. Those are the thoughts that you get to dance with along that frequency. Today, here you are in a time when that could be so helpful. I just experienced job loss. There's a lot of variables here and a lot to consider. And there's finances to consider. And then what am I doing next? And is that satisfying? Do I continue to grow and all of that? There's so many variables that there's no way I could figure it out. Because this mind is not all knowing, right? So there's no way I could figure it out because I can't think it all up. Okay, so that job does pay enough, but it's so routine, I'd be bored. I guess it would slowly kill me. And then that wouldn't be good because I'd be terrible as a husband and in my family. So how do I figure this out? That's the one that came. What do I do with it? And right. So this is where you would then get wrapped up into trying to heal the cut. Right. Let me pause to see, what are you hearing that's relevant to you?
Yeah, so what I'm hearing is, this will be brutal to articulate, but my question of how do I think about it was, you answered it, and what I heard was not at the same level as I'm thinking about the problem, the waiting, and what to do about it, and the strategy, and the list of whatever's I'm going to do. That's trying to address it mentally at the same level that the waiting is. And what I'm hearing from you is that what I have to use my thinking for is to just notice those thoughts, use less thinking, like use my will to think less at this level in order to feel more at this level and get to that frequency where actual wisdom is.
So brilliant. And I think it's going to fit the question in the seminar. How long do I wait for an impulse? How long do I wait for the insight?
In the web, yeah, in the webinar, I think it was more, how do I like make it happen? How do I make that impulse happen?
Okay.
Or do I have to wait for it?
Maybe the way we use this metaphor could be good. Where's the insight? The insight is from the source of me. The insight is from true energy that is expressing as this unique aspect of the all and wants only thriving, wants only more peace, joy, abundance, love, more experience, more living as an expression of that. Okay, so that we don't have to think about because it never shuts off. Maybe all you have to do is just check if you're breathing. Now, I don't have to think about it because I still breathe. As long as we're still breathing, now we know that vibration and the channel on which thoughts flow from the intelligence turns into the thinking, and that which forms all of this in me, right? What a relief this is. So there is a channel, and it never shuts off and it never turns off. The channel keeps playing. And then there's me. What am I dancing with? Sometimes, understandably so, I might be sitting on my couch going, if I don't get a job soon, that's one thought. It's quite understandable given the focus of attention. That's a thought that will arise. Perhaps until now, you viewed that as your thought.
Sometimes I'm better about catching it, but yes.
You viewed it as your thought. And the suggestion here is, it can't be your thought, because I thought the same thing. There's no way it could be your thought. It's sort of like I turn the radio on and there's a song. Well, that's, it's not your song. The song is on and it goes. Anyone who tunes to that station picks the song up. So there are thoughts. You're sitting on your couch and the thought comes, what about that? Another thought says, why wasn't I picked for those other ones? I know that one's not your thought because I thought that. So it can't be yours. So why did they hire someone else? That thought comes and goes, but it gives me an indicator of the channel it's on. How do I know the indicator? How do I feel? I don't know how I feel. I'm just being objective. What do you mean, how do I feel? I'm being objective. I'm thinking and wondering about that last interview. This isn't about what I'm feeling. I'm just going through this. I'm thinking about the last interview. They didn't hire me. They took someone else. I'm wondering, why didn't they? That's an interesting train of thought. Maybe I'm delusional, not as good as I think. Maybe I'm not that good. Now, I don't know if you thought that thought, but that thought came. So I'm just sharing with you thoughts that come. Now, what I've since learned is there's a lot of thoughts and they're on a particular channel. And so once I engaged with one, I started to move into the flow of that. I started to move into the flow of those thoughts. As you move into the flow, they unfold into something. There's a flow of thinking that turns into experiences and things around you. Right? But I didn't want to ride this flow. Hell, this is totally not the direction I want to ride in. Now, what are you going to do? If you step into that river, it starts moving fast. There comes a point where you're not thinking. This is where people say, you don't get a choice. There's a momentum here. You are on a train fueled by your attention. It will fuel the train in that direction. I didn't know all this at the time, but that's where that train goes. So let's check in. What are you hearing about that?
Yeah, you and I have had the experience of tuning into the same channels. And yeah, so nothing you said there about maybe some of the thoughts I was having was alien to me. I assume where we're going next is once you notice what channel you're on, like garbage news, how do I change the channel?
Right. Here's the cool thing. These thoughts would all be just pure neutral. They wouldn't bother me one way or another, were it not for the other channel. That's the issue. I'm fine to think thoughts that I'm going to be ruined. We need to sell the kids. I'd probably be homeless. These are just neutral thoughts. They don't mean anything. I have no problem with any of it, were it not for that other channel. Were it not for the channel that lives and breathes me, the truth, intelligence, of who I am, the soul here to live and express itself and thrive. Were it not for that channel, these would all be neutral thoughts. They wouldn't bother me. I could think them and dance with them. It would be a wonderful experience. The trouble is this soul channel that lives and breathes me. It is unchanging, unvarying, never opposing, never diminishing, never in opposition to what leads to more thriving, more love, more peace, more joy, more abundance, more of who I really am. That channel will not shut off. So there's your problem. You cannot think against yourself and feel good. You will never be able to think nonsense and feel good. You will never be able to think a lie about yourself and feel good. The minute you think it, the minute you dance with it, it will hurt. You will feel the sharpness of it immediately. And therein lies your wisdom. Am I thinking in harmony with what's productive and leading to everything that I want, including the next vocation for me, which, by the way, this is all-knowing intelligence. So that next vocation, here's, I'm just being silly, but like, do you think it knows that I'm going to need some money for my family? Do you think, wait a minute, it's an all-knowing intelligence. And what it wants is whole. Here's a satisfying job for you. Oh, yeah, those jobs don't pay much, but that's not whole. This is a whole. But how do you do that? How would you do that? Because the thing that I'm passionate about, nobody makes money doing what I'm passionate about. You can't think how that would be. You can't think who you would meet and how that would unfold. But this intelligence knows all that. It knows all those connections. It knows the coffee shop for you to be in where you overhear the person in line. It knows the easiest way exactly to unfold all that you want. The easiest, most enjoyable path. In that path will always feel good. Thinking along that line will always feel good. Therein lies your wisdom. It's in that feeling. Your wisdom is in that feeling. Your nonsense isn't anything else.
Okay. So the thing to do is notice that feeling, reflect on whether it's the actual thoughts or the mood that I'm experiencing, probably as a result of the thoughts or whatever's triggering a thought or whatever it is, and notice whether that feels good, whether that feels like it's in alignment with that source. If it's not, move away from that thought or situation. If it is, keep going and fine-tuning, continuously asking, does this feel good? And I'll stop there.
Yeah. So that was a beautiful description of what happens. Now I'm just going to take the work out of it.
Okay.
Because you described it very well. You'll listen back to the recording. The description of what happens is well described. And the only interference is, this is my work. It's so much easier than this. So we'll just take the work out of it.
Great. It's been my dream my whole life.
I need to notice. You are always noticing. So there's no work involved. You are always conscious. Have you ever shut it off? You could go to sleep, but you're always conscious. Consciousness is always on. When you are in a awake state and consciousness is focused, you are noticing something. So we just remove that piece of work. The second thing that is important is you would have to care. About what? Well, see, this is why all of this we're doing is not a new practice. What's a better way to do what you're doing? That's not what we're trying to do. What this conversation is about, we just want an understanding and then do what you want. right? Because once you understand, what you're doing will be is aligned with your understanding. It aligns with your understanding effortlessly. And my doing is always aligned with my misunderstanding effortlessly. So when I misunderstand something, my doing is aligned with it effortlessly. So we said notice. That's not your doing. So there's nothing to do about noticing. You will notice. The other thing I suggested is, well, you've got to care. Care about what? Well, you would have to care about how you feel. Well, I don't care how I feel. I just want a job. I just want to do. I don't care about how I feel. Yeah, bullshit. And this again is also not a doing. Every single thing that you want, every single thing that you want is because you believe you will feel better in the having of it.
Yeah.
So even this, although I said you're going to have to care about how you feel, that's not really a thing you do anyway, because you always do. You always care about how you feel. Good to notice, good to understand. I'm noticing and always caring about how I feel. Cannot shut off either of these. What a beautiful design this is, whoever did this. Put you into a physical body where you would always notice and care about how you feel. You know what's cool about that is, say, there, now you will always have access to this intelligence.
Right.
You will always forever know what's best for you. You will always forever be guided from a wisdom for your well-being forever. And you can't shut either of those off. So in living life, I notice, and then I care about how I feel. Sometimes I realize I care. Other times I'm confused, but I can never shut it off. I want to get some water because I'm thirsty. I'll feel better if I drink. There's an intelligence in every cell of your body. It's nudging you. You should drink if you're going to feel better. Drinking water will replenish. This is the kind of guidance going on all the time. I simply notice the feeling, and notice the feeling will precisely let me know in this moment the channel I'm on. Let's check in.
Yeah, I felt while you were talking, I felt the channel change. That was cool. I like the idea of this not being work. If we had 8 of these sessions, it would become clear that I spent a lot of time turning everything enjoyable into some form of work. Excellent call out. Thank you.
Let's move to a closing. What are you seeing? What are you getting so far?
I think that it was actually really helpful in that, to realize really deeply that the thinking might be on the right track, but it's not the whole picture. And if we keep looking at it through that, I'm going to make possibly suboptimal or less ideal decisions. I'm working with incomplete information. Whereas if I'm open and curious enough as to why this thing seems like a good idea, then something else may present itself that will feel better because I'm looking at it through a broader lens or a wider net.
Beautifully. You're open to more possibilities instead of locked onto this one, right? You're opening to more possibilities. There's more ways of fulfillment that are possible, potentially more intelligent ways, more ways which check the box on multiple desires. Like, I thought I wanted a job like this, but this job actually it gave me this, and it gave me this, and it gave me this, and it gave me this. The universe would deliver in a way that is broader and more fulfilling if you don't obsess with what the mind thinks.
Right.
What are you seeing from your job desire and that piece?
Yeah. On the positive side, I feel I've been open-minded. It'd be easy to just want a replica of my last job at a different company. That's probably the easiest, but I've been trying to be open-minded about maybe I don't do that thing at all. I have other skills, or I have the same skills that can be used in a different way. I think part of me has been open to those possibilities, but also dealing with time pressure and the first things we talked about. I think my biggest takeaway today is to allow for that openness to be present and notice when it's not. Yeah. And I guess just be more, maybe more, is it right to say be more sort of feeling oriented than thought oriented?
I want to feel my way to the next position. I want to feel my way to the next position. I know there's a wave, an energy leading right to it by the most enjoyable path, not a suffering path. It's by the most enjoyable path. I'm going to meet incredible people. And what was dead end will end up re-steering me into from the clarity over into here. And I'm going to go back and say that was the most incredible journey and path. I loved every step of it. I loved meeting them, and I loved the entire thing. And that's how the path will feel all the way with perfect timing into the right position, the right time, with the money that's needed and all of that stuff. It will feel that way. You will not walk that path or allow that path smooth. It will have bumpiness. But here's what the bumpiness is because I'm on the path. And then as I'm on the path and I'm interviewing and I'm doing I start my expectations going, I get excited. I don't even notice the attachment driving up. I don't even notice the pressure of the money and my mind going, if I don't get this thing, then what's going to happen? It's all in a feeling. If I go off, I will notice. And the question is, how will I notice? Well, if I go off a little bit and I don't notice, here's what's guaranteed about this because of the way this works. If you go off and don't notice, don't worry, it'll get worse.
Right.
When you innocently give but if I've interviewed 3 and this much time's going on. Do you know what they say that if this much time goes on, then like, what could that mean? Like I made, okay. So, okay. At what point do you notice the wave of this? At what point? Because if I catch it early, then I'm not on it. The metaphor that's been used a lot, again, which requires no work, is you are driving on the road. You have an intention and a dream to get over there. And you get on the road and it just feels perfect, smooth, and you drive. When you're not paying attention, it can veer. If you veer, it's not a problem. You're just not paying attention. You just don't realize you're not going there because you're looking at a building or something. That's not your destination. Like
right.
Suddenly you're looking over there. Don't worry about it. It's not like beat yourself up. But when you veer, you will feel something. They are rumble strips.
Right.
They're on the side of the road, right? Did you notice? Notice what? There's a beautiful building. Right? But are you paying attention?
Right.
Well, I am to this beautiful building. But what about the feeling? I'm paying attention to our finances. But what about the feeling? Where is this leading you to? Is it leading to an abundance of finances? Is it leading to abundance? What about the feeling? That's what's telling you where it's going. That's what telling you if you need to be thinking about this right now. What's the feeling? If you needed to be thinking about this, you should probably go into the bank and blah, blah, blah. If you needed to be thinking that, it would not feel like crap. It would feel like wisdom. It would feel like, oh my gosh, I don't know why I'm worried about all this stuff. I should go to the bank, talk to them, blah, 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 and put that whole thing to rest. Oh, yeah, wow, that was smart. Now I've bought myself time. There's a difference. I'm thinking about my finances from this intelligence versus my nonsense. So the question is, notice, did you notice on the rumble strips? If you do, it's not like you drive doing anything. You drive, you feel it, and you steer back. Now, someone could say, well, that's you doing that. It's moving you. The combination of you with your desire in movement up to a destination, that's the thing that's steering you. It's like it's steering you. You feel it and go back. You don't sit there going, oh my gosh, what in driving school, they said something about these rumble strips. It's just happening.
Right.
So then you move out. Now, if you don't notice, then you'll just follow that thinking and go off-road. And then it's like, so don't worry. It'll get worse.
Right.
It'll get worse. Hey, do you notice now you're thinking about your finances? My God, you are off-road because you're going to have to sell the kids and be homeless. That's pretty off-road. Do you want to keep thinking about that for a while longer? Because this seems very productive and helpful, I guess. You see, it's guiding you all the time.
Just to make sure I'm on the right track here. While we were talking, and yesterday I had a couple of ideas to reach out I could do, people I haven't talked to in a while. Messaging you was one of them, which is, I don't know if he's going to answer me. I don't like, he was on a group thing. He answered my question. I would love some more help. You've generously offered to do this. There's a couple I haven't done yet, but I'm going to, that feel similar to that feeling of like, this seems pretty out there. Like this is someone I haven't talked to in years. I used to work with them. Maybe I'll reach out. It feels like the right thing to do. I'm not attached to anything. I'm not expecting him to say, great, I needed to hire someone tomorrow. You know, you're perfect. But am I on the right track when those things pop up, following that feeling and just going, not questioning it?
I love that. Beautiful encapsulation and nice reflection on what you're doing that is working in alignment with that intelligence. I think our experience, I can talk about it from both sides. First of all, no accident. You were on this webinar yesterday where I'm one of the people invited to talk, right? Here you are on that. It's 2 days ago, I think. You could have had lots of stuff going on, or you should really do a job search. You can't be wasting your time. Notice there's a thought and then opposing thoughts and opposing thoughts. You went with a thought, showed up on that webinar, and I'm on that webinar. We get off the webinar. Crazy thought. I'm gonna like message and see if he'll, whatever. And you just asked a question. But probably not, he won't, and doesn't really know me. There's a thought and opposing thought. One of those is on the channel. The other ones are not, because you can tell by the feeling, right? And it doesn't matter the outcome. It just matters the movement. I moved with the feeling. I'll give it to you from the other side too. Here I am, I get a message. I don't know this person. You know how much stuff I've got to do. Now I've got to do that. So there's resistant thought. I don't have time to write this out. It's not even going to be right and complete, and it's probably going to lead them astray. And I don't want to do that either. And I want to. So into that thought that didn't feel good, a different thought that felt better was born, right? But you could have a conversation. But if I start having conversations with, right, I say, yeah, but what he's talking about is so relevant to so many people. You can record the conversation. Now it's interesting. At any point, I could get interested in the opposing thought. I don't need to do this. Why do I pressure myself with more things? Leads to something else. This whole opportunity, this entire conversation missed. It's not a problem. This is what I said yesterday. It's not a problem to miss an opportunity because the only thing flowing is another one and another one and another one and another one and another one. And at some point, maybe you'll pick up that these are all opportunities, but you're busy trying to get what you think you want. They're all coming as the opportunities that lead to everything you truly desire, right? And if you would engage and dance with some. So same with you. So you had these thoughts, reaching out to somebody and reach out to that worker, and it immediately comes. Again, I love the fact that you don't think any unique thoughts.
For a second.
I love it. You're thinking about a past worker, and then you're thinking, but they won't remember me, but now I'm going to reach out to them just because they're going to think like I'm reaching out because I need them or whatever. And this isn't a good thing. And it's like, I'm glad that wasn't your thought because I was thinking about it years ago. So obviously it wasn't one of yours. So these are just thoughts. That thought isn't wisdom. How can I be so sure? Because of the way it feels. That's how I can be sure. There's nonsense in the thought. There's non-truth in the thought. What source knows, what that inner being knows is everyone wants to be helpful. Everyone wants to be a hero. Everyone wants to tell the story of when Evan spoke to me, spent an hour with him talking about this and this. And do you know what happened later? He then got this job. It was the most incredible job. Everyone wants to be a hero. Everyone wants to contribute, make a difference. So source knows that. But when that comes up for you and then you go, no, I'm wasting their time and I'm whatever. Where did that thought come from? It's not on this channel.
Right.
So which one will you follow? Well, you're going to follow whichever one you do until you notice the feeling. When you notice the feeling, there's your wisdom, and your wisdom will steer you around like that. How has this been helpful?
It's given me, thinking back to some of those decisions I made when I was younger, this conversation is reminding me of how those moments felt. I've articulated them, I've thought about them, and I've told stories about them, but it's been a long time since I've felt them. Remembering those and thinking about these ideas that I had, what I should do in the next couple of days, they feel the same. It's really cool to feel that. It's been a while since I felt that feeling again. So yeah, personally and selfishly, this was a great use of your time to help me. But I hope this is.
I know it was because it felt good through the whole thing. And here's the thing. I don't know what comes of this. I don't know how this is useful in any way. And it's none of my business. Right. That intelligence has an understanding of this and us having this conversation. Who knows? You and I may never have another interaction, but the transformation in both of us, in my clarity of having to describe and express this to you in a particular way, it's not to you, it's I get to hear that. Looks like I'm talking to you, but it's me hearing that explanation in the way of clarity that I've never seen it before. I don't know how that benefits in a book I'm going to write or a thing to understand these things in that discernment. Who knows what that is? And it's none of our business.
Right.
Beautiful.
Great. Well, thank you. Thank you for making the time to do this. This was a lot of fun. And yeah, I hope anybody watching got something out of it. I got a lot. Yeah.
Wonderful. All right. Stay in touch because I would love to hear how things unfold and how things are going. So really
I'll
good to
definitely,
talk to you.
yeah, thanks, Dominic. And yeah, I'll draw the thread into whatever life turns into, and we'll trace the route back to here.
Have a great rest of the day.
Thanks.